Little big game breakdown, Iowa State. First, let's go back to Monday when I was here on the WagerTalk College Basketball Tip-Off Show. Did a big game breakdown on Iowa-Purdue, which just like today was the lone game on that slate involving teams from power conferences. Now, perhaps Trigg would be better served to confirm this, but whether or not his Siena Saints would want Fran McCaffrey back. But bottom line is, in Iowa City, it's the same song and dance under Coach McCaffrey for the Hawkeyes. Same statistical profile each and every year. They're good on offense, bad on defense. True to form, right now, Ken Palm has Iowa 14th in the country adjusted offensive efficiency, 138th in adjusted defensive efficiency. Thus, you always get a high total when Iowa's involved in a game. And going back to that aforementioned game on Monday, Iowa and Purdue here on the show, I said to take the under. And that under hit, albeit barely. Purdue, they scored 87 points on 52% shooting, but it was a bad offensive night for the Hawkeyes. They shot just 38.5% overall and had 24 points only in the first half. And as I mentioned in that breakdown, Purdue, a top 10 team in the country in defensive efficiency. Guess who else is top 10 in the country in defensive efficiency? That would be Iowa's opponent tonight, Iowa State. Now, the Cyclones may not be ranked in the AP or coaches polls, but they're top 25 at Ken Palm, and I've got them power rated top 20. So this is a team to keep an eye on. I think it's going to be another loss tonight for McCaffrey in Iowa, but the point spread, which has held steady all day long at -7, seems about right. Therefore, let's take advantage of another high over-under involving Iowa. Looking again at the WagerTalk.com live odds screen, total's been bet down all the way to 153. After opening 158.5. So the market agrees with my assessment here, probably because bettors are aware that Iowa State, not just top 10 in defensive efficiency, which measures points per possession, of course, but they're also top 6 in points per game allowed in the country, giving up only 59.6 per game. My view, Iowa State likely wins in a game that is lower scoring than what the odds makers expect. Slight lean to the under on the battle for the Cy Hawk Trophy on Thursday.
Adam Trigger here. My big game breakdown for Thursday is the Governor's I-40 Showdown down in Little Rock, Arkansas. It's a rivalry game between Central Arkansas and Little Rock. Listen, there's only 5 games on Thursday. I don't have a client play for today, but this would be my best bet for Thursday. And I do have an opinion here. I actually have a little star next to Central Arkansas as a team that I definitely want to jump in with at some point. Consider it here. It got bet down a little bit, but I still think if you were going to get involved in this game, that they're the right side. The appeal to Central Arkansas here for me is going back to last year. You know, this was a team that played well in the non-conference. They actually won this game on Little Rock's floor last year, and they just fell apart. Their coach Anthony Boone had a heart condition. I believe he had like heart surgery right in the middle of the season, and things kind of unraveled for them down the stretch. So, knowing that they were going to bring back Cameron Hunter, one of the top players in the Atlantic Sun Conference, I thought things might look up for them this year. Now, problem with that is Hunter hasn't played yet this year. And, the thing is, like, I find it, interesting. You get some of these smaller schools, it's like, it's still getting thrown around like that he's not available. It's like, if you followed any of these schools, he hasn't been available all year. He has yet to play a game. So I think some of that, like, his absence is more than baked in, to the odds makers number at this point. And then I also think it explains like sort of the severe struggles out of the gate. But recently they haven't been that bad. They've been far, they're getting more competitive. They lost a close game to Eastern Michigan that they could have won by 3 points. They lost a tight game to New Orleans that they could have won, lost by 5 points. Last time out, I was really close to playing this, and I'm mad I didn't, because they covered the 19.5 on their random trip out to Hawaii to play Hawaii in a one-off game on the island. They lost it by 19, but they were on the right side of the hook and covered that game and showed some signs of life there, some reasons to believe, that they might start to play better. Now, I'll probably wait till Hunter comes back to look for a chance to jump in with a client play. But here, I mean, on a 5-game night, like I certainly am not seeing many better angles than taking the points with Central Arkansas. Little Rock, they've been better of late, but man, in their losses, they've given up close to 90 points per game. You go back to last year, this was one of the worst defensive teams in the country. One of their big offseason acquisitions who they, sort of brought in that was, a guy that would have sort of bolstered the defense a little bit. Mikel Mitchell comes from Arkansas. Actually, he's been at like 6 different colleges at this point. He didn't get, I don't believe he got a waiver to play. I know he hasn't played yet this year, but it's important to note that he hasn't played yet this year. And so when I look at this game, it is a rivalry down there. They call it the I-40 showdown. Certainly both of these teams are going to show up. They're going to want this one. The 2021 version was canceled due to COVID. The year before it was a 3-point game. So I think we're going to see a competitive game here. I think that the 7 points that this, when I chose this game for the show, it was +7. I thought that was too many. Even bet down now, I probably wouldn't take 5.5, but if you can find a 6 or a 6.5, I think that this game ends up being close. Arkansas or Little Rock just doesn't defend well enough, in my opinion, to justify being a 7-point favorite. And remember, they're a road favorite here. This game is at Central Arkansas. So all things considered, I think this number is too big. I think Central Arkansas is starting to figure out how to play a little bit without Hunter, and they're a team that likely continues to trend up. So on a light board on Thursday, I'll call Central Arkansas +7 or whatever it is now my best bet for the day.
Steve Merril back talking some college basketball on Thursday, and it's definitely not a loaded card, just 5 games in the betting rotation. So I'm going to do a little 2-for-1 combo here. I'm going to give you a big game breakdown and a best bet within this big game breakdown. My top recommendation for Thursday night college basketball, free for you right here on Wager Talk TV. And don't forget, I post these free plays daily on my page as well, including this game tonight, Steve Merril, WagerTalk.com. So check out the analysis there. And while you're there, don't forget about the $199 rest of year special. Hey, look, been telling you all week to get on board because the price is $199 all week. Special price through this weekend. Monday we won in college hoops. Tuesday we won in college hoop. Last night on Wednesday, an outright underdog winner. 3-0 sweeps so far this week in basketball. Yet many of you have sat back and waited day after day and watched winner after winner pass you by, and literally winner after winner pass you by. I'm now on 18-5 all sports run in football and basketball the last couple weeks. So why wait any longer? Get on board right now. Get the rest of 2023 for just $8 a day with the All Sports All Access special. No promo code needed. Check it out on my page right now, Steve Merril, WagerTalk.com. All right, little big game breakdown and a bonus best bet in this game for you tonight. Portland at North Dakota State tips off at 8 o'clock Eastern, a pair of 5 and 4 straight up teams. 2 decent offensive teams, 2 really bad defensive teams. But the difference in this game is the pace of play. Portland, for several years now, been one of the fastest up-tempo teams in the country, always ranking top 100. Meanwhile, North Dakota State, most seasons have been under David Richmond, who's been there since 2014, head coach for North Dakota State, have been a slow-down half-court team. In fact, a few years back, they were one of the 20 slowest teams in the country. But then last year, middle of the pack, they played faster, didn't really work out, and it does appear they're back to their slower half-court tempo this season, ranking in the bottom third right now in the nation in pace of play. And I think that's important to point out in this game because I always like to look for slow-down home teams, especially, that can dictate the tempo against a team that prefers to play faster. And that's the matchup we get tonight. And it worked for North Dakota State last year, even though they played at a little bit of a quicker tempo last season. They went into Portland last December, a year ago, and won the game outright as a 2-touchdown underdog, a 14-point dog, won that game straight up. Really nothing misleading about it. Only made 2 more 3-pointers, had 1 less free throw, same amount of 2-pointers. So it was a close game. And I look for that again tonight. But I think North Dakota State at home with the slowdown style and the better overall offense, especially on their home court, that'll be the difference tonight. And something else to point out about Portland, I always look to play against up-tempo teams when they're facing a slow-down opponent, but I also like to play against teams that have turnover problems when on the road. And that's been the case for Portland. They have not taken care of the ball here in the last couple games, especially 39 turnovers against Wyoming and Air Force, and that was at home. Now they're on the road in a hostile environment. They even had 21 turnovers against Lewis and Clark. Lewis and Clark combined to force 21 turnovers earlier this season in that non-point spread game. North Dakota State doesn't force a lot of turnovers, but they do take care of the ball. I think they're the better team here, laying the short numbers. So take a look at North Dakota State minus the 2. Tips off at 8 o'clock Eastern tonight on Thursday. It's a limited card. That's a free play for you in college hoops. But if you want to win big this week, huge NFL football card for this weekend. I'm ranked number 1 in the NBA. We cashed again last night, as I mentioned, now up 132 units in the NBA this calendar year. And it's a great time to get all sports, all access for the rest of 2023 for just $8 a day. No promo code needed. Don't wait any longer. On my page right now, Steve Merril, WagerTalk.com.
Well, shout out to the odds makers real quick because they're getting these numbers up earlier than ever. It's a short day on Thursday, so I wanted to come on the Thursday show, talk about a Friday game, and we already have odds up right now as of the time of the show. And so I had my breakdown all ready to do, not knowing the number of this game, but at 8, that's a great number here to jump in on the Rider Bronx. Listen, we have 2 one-loss teams here, but not all one. Or I'm sorry, 2 one-win teams here, and not all one-win teams are created equal. And that's certainly the case with 1-7 Rider and 1-9 Stonehill. Listen, Rider has a 7-game losing streak. Have not beat a Division One team yet this year, but the first 5 games of that losing streak, Marquette, Nebraska, Duquesne, Stony Brook, and Maryland, they were underdogs in all 5 of them. All of them were on the road. Other than the Stony Brook game, I don't think they were expected to win any of those. So willing to give them a pass there. I'm also willing to give Rider a little bit of a pass for their 2-point loss at Siena. Friday night game. It was a big home game for Siena. Tough spot there. They finally get a home game against Fairfield, and unfortunately, they catch the Fairfield Stags when Fairfield's finally got guys coming back and playing well. So again, just a little bit of a victim of scheduling and catching teams at the wrong time. Other than that, I mean, so our friends at Shot Quality. Sorry, I lost my spot there for a second. Our friends at Shot Quality put a great stat out and basically evaluated all riders' numbers and said that they should be scoring about 14 to 15 more points a game. And I fully agree with that. Reason being, one, the shots that they're getting should be going in at a higher rate. And 2, the teams that they're taking those shots against were just better teams, better defensive teams, more rim resistance, so on and so forth. You're not going to get that from Stonehill. Stonehill isn't going to contest shots at that rate. They're probably one of the worst shot contesting teams in the country. They're certainly one of the worst rebounding teams in the country. And that's an area where Rider might get easy buckets in this game. Rider is a top 30 rebounding team, and they should just obliterate Stonehill on the glass here. So that's from a matchup perspective, that certainly favors Rider. And because of that matchup sort of advantage for Rider, they're probably not going to need a ton of outside shooting, which has really been where they've struggled the most. It's where they struggled last year, and it's where they've struggled the most so far this year. Now, the other reason I want to play against Stonehill is that it's just been a revolving door of injuries for this team. Shane Odell, kid that I've kind of followed closely because he went to my high school, transferred there this year. He's been pretty much, he'll be in for a game, he's out for a game. He's been bad, he's been dealing with a nagging injury all year. He's only played in 5 games this season. Last game, Stonehill was without Jackson Bignini, their top scorer, kind of like randomly out. And it's tough. It's tough to get info on this school. So they have, nothing is being really reported here. It's just kind of reading the tea leaves and seeing if you can get ahead of what's going on. Todd Brogna's missed time. So this has been a Stonehill team it's already very much like a D2 roster. I kind of went into this explanation with Lemoyne earlier this week and said this is really just a Division II roster playing in Division One. I kind of feel the same way about Stonehill. This is a team, they made the jump from D2 to D1 last year in the Northeast Conference, and they do not have even close to the caliber of player that Rider has. I'm ready to buy in with Rider. I know it sounds crazy. They're 1-7. They've lost 7 straight games. They haven't beat a D1 school yet, but there's actual talent on this Rider team. And I think Rider's just played teams that are better than them so far this year, and then caught a couple of MAC teams that happen to be in a good spot. Siena in a huge bounce back spot at home, and Fairfield getting some guys back. Just a little unfortunate on their part. Mervyn James is awesome, 19 points per game. I think he's one of the better players in the MAC. I mean, these 2 rosters are night and day. Rider also has barely played any home games, and so they get a home game here against an opponent they really should blow out of the gym. I don't think there's going to be any let up from Rider here. They've lost 7 in a row. I think they're going to want to get right in a big way. And I don't think Stonehill is going to be able to do anything about that. So Rider -8, -9. But when you watch this video, it could be -10. I think I'd lay anything up to 10 in this game. I think Rider wins this one and wins it big.
All right, guys. My best bet for the show today is going to be on the game between IUPUI and Eastern Illinois. Again, it's a a very limited card, so a bit of a rogues gallery when it comes to the choices here. But before we get to the best bet, like the screen says, I do need to talk about the fact that I'm on a 14-0 all sports run. Yes, you heard that correctly. Over the last 6 days, I have gone a perfect 14 for 14 with all selections. It was a 5-0 sweep in college football and conference championship Saturday. Then we broke out the broom yet again on Sunday, going 5-0 in the NFL. We're 4-0 in college hoops as well during that time. And you've got to take advantage of that end of year special going on right now at WagerTalk for just $199. You get the rest of my selections for 2023. That's NFL, college football, NBA, college hoops, soccer. Went 67% last year in the Bulls. Oh, by the way, 60% so far this season in basketball. So it is a great time to take on board as we look to finish the year strong. Now, getting back to today's best bet, something that not enough people talk about. You always hear people say, oh, no one talks enough about this. What that really means is they just want to talk about it more. But something I guarantee you that you have not heard about is just how pitiful IUPUI has become as a program, the depths to which they have sunk the last 2 seasons. They have finished dead last in the Ken Palm ratings and 4th from the bottom in the Ken Palm ratings. Not much better this season. 351st. And keep in mind, we keep adding more and more D1 teams every year. Jaguars 3-6 straight up entering the year on Thursday. Maybe that doesn't sound too horrendous, but 2 of those wins were against non-D1 schools. And since they upset Valpo back on November 10th, IUPUI 0-6 ATS in line contests. All 6 losses have been by 13 points or more. They've lost by an average of 22.3 points per game, lost by 39 at Indiana State, by 14 at Elon, by 13 at Winthrop, by 13 to Holy Cross, by 39 to Wright State, and by 16 to Northern Kentucky. This is a team shoots just 24% from 3. That's terrible. So I see no reason why this team should be getting only single digits on the road here. I know Eastern Illinois, they're not the greatest team in the country either. Far from it. They're sub 300 as well. But I'll gladly lay the short number with them at home because recently, what did Eastern Illinois do? They gave Kansas all they could handle, losing by only 8 in Lawrence. Now, Eastern Illinois was certainly fortunate to be catching the Jayhawks in their first game back from Maui. But still, it was a nice performance. Tony Romo's alma mater beat that's Eastern Illinois, beat IUPUI by double digits last season on the road. So I see no reason why they shouldn't do the same again here at home. Eastern Illinois -4.5 is your best bet for Thursday. And once again, please head over to my page, wt.buzz/BP, to hop on board that 14-0 all sports run.